Early this NBA season, I have been loving life. There have been so many great stories. The new look Blazers look absolutely phenomenal. The Cleveland Cavaliers have been turning heads, and then of course the Milwaukee Bucks have been the Milwaukee Bucks. They just look flat out unstoppable, and Giannis is still looking like he might be the best player in the game of basketball. I personally think he is, but if you disagree, let me know who you think it is down in the comments below. I say this often, but I think the game is in a great place. The same way that I believe that the Utah Jazz are in a great place after trading Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert this offseason. So far, the Utah Jazz have been one of the most surprising teams in the league, currently sitting on top of the Western Conference. Who saw that coming? Out in Utah right now, the vibe is different. And Utah fans, I know exactly how you guys are feeling right now. After so many years of expectations, you're finally allowed to kick back and enjoy yourself, or as Joel Embiid would say, trust the process. I know a lot of people want the Jazz to go out and tank for Wembanyama, and look, I get it. Utah is a small market team. You think that they're not getting any high-level talent any other way. Look, I get it. And to that I would just say, for the moment, just enjoy the ride. And at worst, watch the price of those assets rise. I know this draft is headlined by Wembanyama, but there are a lot of great prospects, and the Utah Jazz have a lot of great picks. Besides, Utah sort of has a unicorn of their own that goes by the name of Lauri Markkanen. If you guys saw my video on that Donovan Mitchell trade, you guys would know that I absolutely called this one, calling Lauri a true post-type sleeper, and somebody that's going to surprise people if he's given that opportunity. Guys, I was so in on this Lauri breakout season that I got him in both of my fantasy basketball leagues. I'm sorry, I'm just really proud of myself for this one. Guys, this video, we have a ton to discuss, but before we go any further, we have to talk about how PrizePicks is changing daily fantasy. Guys, PrizePicks has successfully made NBA games more fun, which I didn't even think was humanly possible. Not only is PrizePicks fun, but you can also win money in the process. Shout out to PrizePicks, man. For those of you that didn't know, they're also the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports in states like Florida, California, and Texas. With PrizePicks, it's just you versus the projections. All you have to do is open your phone or web browser and then pick the projection that you like, be it points, rebounds, assists, or more. Once picked, just choose more or less for that player's projection. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. No, I'm not picking him. Now, let me show you guys who I actually am picking for tonight's flex play. Tonight, I'm just going to do straight fantasy scores. So for starters, give me Terry Rozier at 33.5. Next, I'm going to take the fantasy score of Trae Young at 42.5. To finish it off, I'll risk it with a hot Spencer Dinwiddie at 30.5. You guys know me, I go more across the board. It's really that simple. Now here's my favorite part. If you use code COOP when you deposit, they'll match your deposit for up to $100. So if you deposit 100, you get 100. Guys, be sure to go download that app and check them out. I want to give a huge shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's content. In 2017, Lauri would be the 7th pick in the NBA draft. On draft night, he'd find himself in Chicago after spending just one season at Arizona. At Arizona, many would consider Lauri the best shooting 7-footer in college basketball. As a Wildcat, he'd average over 15 points and 7 boards, shooting better than 49% from the field and 42% from deep. Lauri's hot shooting would draw comparisons that ranged all over the place. Some NBA scouts would debate if Lauri was the next Kristaps Porzingis, while NBADraft.net compared him to Nikola Mirotic / Ryan Anderson. I actually love the scouting report that NBADraft.net gave on Lauri Markkanen, calling him a fluid athlete with great coordination for his size, and going on to say that he's pretty much good at everything and has traits that are going to be amazing at the next level. With that in mind, I hated the comparison to Nikola Mirotic / Ryan Anderson, because like NBADraft.net said, not only is Lauri a good athlete, but he's also a fluid one. I feel like body control and fluidity are underrated skills when it comes to athleticism. So often we see these tall, great athletes in the NBA. And don't get me wrong, they're great, but when you get that fluidity in there, that's when things really start to get dangerous.
Third, and Utah taking advantage.
Look at this. I mean, this is at full speed, 7 feet to the rack. The finisher.
And a two-hander. Rim is still swinging. Posterized Gobert. I mean, uncontested. Went up. Rudy took a little step back.
How dangerous am I talking? Well, I'm going to let you guys be the judge of that. In Chicago, Lauri would hit the ground running, averaging 15.2 points and 7.5 rebounds. After his sophomore season, you literally could not tell me that this guy didn't have next. He was a mobile footer that could shoot, that was pushing nearly 20 points per game in their sophomore season on great efficiency. But unfortunately, after that season, despite being pretty efficient, he still wouldn't play up to his potential. It was heartbreaking seeing Lauri's role diminish at such a young age. Instead of playing the free-flowing style of basketball that he's playing in Utah right now, oftentimes you'd find him in a corner or just focusing on catching and shooting. To be honest with you guys, Chicago has drafted some really good players that really just need to be afforded the opportunity to grow. I think that Wendell Carter Jr. has star upside, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Patrick Williams looks really good every time Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are out. Shout out to Pat Will though, it does seem like he's starting to figure things out and exactly when to be aggressive. Lauri had this to say about his time in Chicago. "I'm the person who always looks in the mirror first and tries to figure it out. So then when it was hard, I think I just put even more pressure on myself to make the next play. If you don't get as many shots, you better make these shots count." It was a vicious cycle trying to figure it out. It was a tough year, and I think I got to the point where I wasn't having much fun my last 2 years in Chicago. Looking back at some of my old tweets, I felt for Lauri during this time. I've low-key been a Lauri guy for a while. In 2021, here I am politely asking Woj to tweet that Lauri is now a member of the Pelicans. Also in 2021, here I am saying that I'd rather Lauri over Steven Adams. And then when Lauri finally found himself in Cleveland and starting, I would tweet out that all Lauri wanted is a chance. Guys, I'm sorry for showing you guys that. Some of these tweets are comedy though. If you ask me, Lauri's stint in Cleveland would be a revelation for him. It would be a breath of fresh air, but it would also help to showcase how versatile that he really still was. He was a true chess piece for that Cavaliers team on offense and defense. And guess what? The same is factual for him in Utah. November 4th, the Jazz would win 110-102, and Lauri would guard Paul George. This is a 7-footer that we're talking about guarding one of the best perimeter players in the league. Paul George would still have 34, but Lauri did a really good job. And Jazz coach Will Hardy would agree, saying that I thought Lauri did a great job of making Paul George work really hard. Not just when he had the ball, but catching the ball, chasing him off pin downs. Our defense started with Lauri on Paul George. When a lot of people see Lauri, they think offense, and don't get me wrong, the offense has been filthy. But this season, he's also been one of the best kept secrets on the defensive side of the basketball. He's averaging a little under a block or a steal per game, and you could move this guy around. One game, you could have this guy on Anthony Davis. The next game, you could have him on Paul George. At the time that I'm making this video, Lauri is currently top 11 in defensive rating for all forwards with a rating of 109.8. Guys, this is a footer. On the other side of the basketball, the free-flowing offense that I mentioned earlier has brought the best out of Lauri. In Utah, Will Hardy is deploying a modern style offense where the ball is constantly moving and everybody is involved. There are a ton of actions. Guys, it actually looks like basketball, which is so refreshing. Look, all I'm going to say is that you can definitely tell that Will Hardy is a Pop protege. Now don't get me wrong, sure, occasionally we'll see a possession or two like this. Guys, I love Colin Sexton.
Drives off that right foot. 10 on the shot clock. Utah protecting a 15-point lead. Left hand. Count it! Left hand!
But like I was saying, at the end of the day, the offense is true to its roots, and it's truly selfless. If somebody's going off, they'll let them go off. And this roster has multiple guys capable of doing so. Sexton, Olynyk, Clarkson has been tough. Conley has been that solid vet. The list undoubtedly goes on. Will Hardy said that one of his goals for Lauri is to put him in a variety of situations every time, not giving him the ball in the same spot, to let him read and react. In Utah, Lauri has been scoring in a plethora of ways and all over the floor. While his three-point percentage is down, he's hitting more than 53% of his shots from the mid-range area. And in the restricted area and around the rim, he's shooting a mind-boggling 81%. And all of this is coming in the flow of the offense. A large part of his baskets are assisted. Now wait, don't get it confused. As we saw in Eurobasket, this guy is more than capable of going off on his own. In Eurobasket, he was an elite isolation scorer, producing over 1.2 points per possession in the half court. As a matter of fact, in Eurobasket this offseason, Lauri was second in points per game, averaging 27.9, only trailing Giannis, who averaged 29.3. He actually averaged more points than Luka Doncic. Now, nobody probably needs to hear this, but international play has a different feel when it comes to the game of basketball. To quote Luka, it's easier to score in the NBA. The court is smaller, and there's that defensive 3 seconds rule. It really is a different game. It has a great feel. Personally, with players taking the game to different heights, I wouldn't mind seeing the NBA switching things up. I really like the pace and the feel of the international game. I couldn't imagine that in the NBA. Though there was that short period where they did stop calling touch fouls to start the season. To get back to Lauri, this guy is averaging 21.9 points and 8.8 boards this season. I can only imagine what that number is going to look like once his threes start to fall. Shout out to Utah, Will Hardy, Danny Ainge, and everybody involved for making this team happen. Also, a major shout out to Vanderbilt for just being an unsung hero. And to Agbaji and Walker Kessler, 2 rookies who have so much promise. The next time I do a Jazz video, I will go more in depth on the entire team, and especially Will Hardy, who is looking like one of the best coaches in the league. Guys, should the Jazz look to make some trades? Is Lauri going to be an all-star this season? Let me know what you think of everything down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.